heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money, the power, respect, and I heard you know so-and-so, you not a threat, cause I really know so-and-so, they like my family, so they go pretend that they cool till they bust at your motherfucking chest. I'm getting gutter, my flow been like butter, my check in the bank, they see the number. All of my haters feel one of two ways, really upset or they show some respect. I can't even think about it, I've been up, so read about it, no beat around it, straight to it, no ring around it. You coming for me, we'll see about it, we'll never see it when I get my feet up. 100 meters where I run the field, and go from king and nine, I'm on a pia. I had to re-up on a reel, so you stay defeated, and put it back into the bit, cause I don't really need it. I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I had to put all their egos in check. You're not entitled to anything else. I get 10 years of this under my belt. Your art isn't art, they don't feel it, and nobody hears it. Initiative stay on the shelf. Your ego done got in the way. It gotta die today. It gotta go. You should be happy I lighten the load. The weight of your arrogance, heavy as stone. I make an appearance, they already know. That chip on your shoulder gon' crumble and fold, yeah. It's not a secret that you have been fearing the shit that I'm on. So you back to the brag and the boast. But I'm in a class of my own. I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check.
Hello. Hopefully this thing is working. Yeah, I think it is. You know, last couple of streams we've had some audio snafus, but tonight, let there be no mistake. It's going to be coming in loud and clear, crystal clear. I have fired up my autonomous ducks. They're on standby to bleep any words that could potentially offend anybody. And we're going to have a good old-fashioned conversation. We're talking about Skydio tonight. I wanted to talk about, I've been wanting to do a video on this, but obviously being sick, I haven't been able to articulate words very long. And there's just a lot. I think there's a lot to talk about because I think the temperature of the world has changed tremendously since Skydio first burst onto the scene back. And I say first, the first time they made a very public, affordable splash into the drone industry that people could actually attain for a relatively cost-effective price point. So this is what we're going to be talking about tonight, and I'm going to talk about why I stopped supporting Skydio, why I don't fly their products. Even though I own one, I don't necessarily support their mission statement at all. But I've got a little bit of a panel with me, so let's go ahead and shall we bring them in? I've got my co-host, Eddie, and I've got a special guest joining us tonight. Eddie, how you doing? I can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself, Edward.
I'm all messed up today.
You're touching a cable. You're breaking things. You're just having a very unlikely stream. So yeah. Ed, we're talking about Skydio tonight, but I had to bring a special guest in as well. You know, you have limited Skydio experience. I have quite a bit of Skydio experience throughout the years. Another gentleman that I know has some minimal Skydio experience. So we're going to talk about that. Let's just go ahead and bring him in. This is somebody who hasn't been on the channel in what are we talking about? August, September.
Little while.
It's been a long time, right?
Yes,
so who do you think it is, Eddie?
It's the only guy that can say aloha correctly.
Can you say aloha correctly?
I say it very Spanish, aloha.
That's more like Dominican aloha.
Yeah, that's Dominican aloha.
That's a Dominican aloha. Well, I need to get a good aloha from 808 State.
Aloha.
Oh, wow. He didn't break his microphone. Wow.
No,
that's really good. All right. So let's just talk about this because I know people are going to come in. They want to get to the point. They want to know why I stopped supporting Skydio. So it's a multi-pronged reason why I don't support them, and I probably won't even if they came out with another drone. Reason number one is the product that they have released was a product from 2019 when it first launched back in September when they first announced the Skydio S2. At the time, it was called the S2. They had this incredible ad. I don't know if you guys remember the ad that they launched. They talked about how drones were dumb, right? And they showed a Phantom hitting like a street sign and it crashed and this whole thing. So they had this whole target thing against, drones, and obviously it was a Phantom that they used in that ad. Then they also touted the fact that their drones were uncrashable, right? That was their thing. They had this crash warranty at the time. When you first bought a Skydio drone, there was a crash warranty that was basically like, as long as you didn't, crash it within these parameters, you would get a new drone. They would warranty out the drone. And obviously, as time went on, we found out that these drones were very crashable. They weren't impervious to disaster. I think like week number 1, I'll never forget watching a Kluge video, and he's flying through that bridge with the Skydio and hits the cable, and the Skydio goes plummeting to the bottom of the bridge, and we went quiet. Like, we didn't get an official word what Skydio did as far as that particular instance went. We didn't even get an official statement or even a follow-up really from Kluge on that video. So we never really know if they warranted it or they silently swept it under the rug. But in any event, throughout the weeks passing, we saw wreck after wreck, people, losing their drone. I mean, even Billy had a Skydio just sort of dive bomb into the water. So I think, like, for me, number one was the inconsistency of policies and the fact that they came on strong with this policy and then sort of like reverse course a little bit, and they made changes. Number two is that you're never truly in control when you fly their product, right? You're maybe piloting it or controlling it, I would say maybe 60% of the time, and the other 40% of the time, the drone is making the best decision for you that it thinks it can make at that time. And when I go back and watch that initial ad, the initial ad from Skydio, they showcase this thing like passing through like a tow truck and doing all this crazy stuff. And I thought to myself, wow, this thing can do some FPV-like things. I want that. But then when I got it, I found that it couldn't do that. So I felt like the advertising was a little bit over embellished at the time for the capability that it could actually do. And then to top it off, the camera isn't all that great. And then we found out the range wasn't all that great once you got the RC, and there's that goofy binding process. But even with all of that, I still bought it, and I bought a second one. It's only actually up until recently that I've really noticed the biggest problem with Skydio. And you know what that problem is? It's the fact that they don't want to innovate. Instead, they want to legislate out the competition. There's been a series of tweets and interviews where Adam Bree has been, talking about Chinese drones, and they're peddling this fear. They're peddling this fear that if it's not made in America, it's not safe. Your data isn't safe. This is the fear that they want you to believe. They want you to believe that any drone that's not produced in the United States, if it comes from China, it's the fucking devil. It's the devil. That's what they want you to believe. So instead of innovating, they find ways to create fear-mongering tactics. They share it on social media. They hop on interviews. I get it. Congratulations. You had a fantastic round E, $230 million raised. Go fuck yourselves. Like, literally, go fuck yourselves, because that's all your staff and yourselves are concerned with, is how much money you're raising. You don't give a flying fuck about the people that actually use your products or even got you to the hype that you're at right now. You're the largest manufacturer in America, like largest manufacturer of American drones, but it doesn't mean you're the best. And I think you know that you cannot compete against even the likes of Autel, which is sort of ironic. You talk about how there's companies that can't hold a candle to Skydio. The reality is what you have right now isn't good enough for the vast majority of pilots that do enterprise work, that do consumer-related works, things like I do. I would say is more film, photo. I wouldn't use your drone. It's not good enough for what I do. So I don't give a shit you raised $230 million to expand your production of a product that is stale. It's been stale for 2 years. I don't care. It's stale. And that is why I won't support you, because you chose to go the path of fear-mongering and targeting. The best was this guy. I gotta read this tweet. This tweet came from I'm not sure what he did. His last name is Sandri, but anyways, I gotta read this tweet because it's the prime example of what I'm talking about. So let me see where it is. So John Santry, and I'm not sure, he does like the public relations between the government and Skydio, et cetera. Anyways, they did this interview with John Fort, with Adam Bry. They did this, it's a Fort Knox update type of thing. It's like a podcast. Anyways, and he says, if you're concerned about Chinese spy balloons, you should be concerned about hundreds of thousands of Chinese drones flying over the country every day. Like literally, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Because most of the data, I would say most of the data, if not all of the data, runs through AWS servers if it is transmitting anything. So it's an AWS server, which is made by Amazon. So you're telling people they should be in fear of Amazon. I think we have more to fear from Google. We have more to fear from Facebook and social media sites that harvest people's data unknowingly or deceptively by getting them to agree to EULA agreements. Then you have to worry about a drone flying over something that a satellite already has access to, such as Google Earth. Like, can I get a fuck you for you, sir? Like, fuck you, Mr. Santry. Like, literally, go fuck yourself. The problem is nobody fights back to you guys because they think you're the only game in town. You're not the only game in town. You're trying super hard to ban other products, but it's not going to happen. So that's sort of the reason why I won't support Skydio anymore. Is they rather just like stomp out the competition by lobbying for lawmakers to change the laws to try to ban products that were not created here, and I'm talking specifically Chinese related drones. That's a lot.
When I saw that, I think about it from a business approach. What they're doing is using scare tactics to increase market share, and I think that's the overall wrong approach, right? As a company, I think about and I could think about maybe like, let's say the auto sector, right?
Right.
With electric vehicles now being more innovative and everyone is trying to get into the game. If something happens where now, let's say, for example, and this is just like an example, right? There's legislation to ban batteries because it's causing fire, etc. You don't need one company really posing a threat to the competition. You need to come together as an industry to keep that industry alive, regardless whether the manufacture is being done, regardless if you're an American company, if you're a Chinese company. The fact of the matter is that these products are being leveraged worldwide,
right,
and the industry overall. So like, for example, I think they're very far from being successful in lobbying against, DJI being banned in the US.
No,
but
and they're not spending enough for lobbying. So in comparison,
Yeah.
I did some research to see how much money they've spent lobbying. Skydio last year spent just under $300,000 lobbying. That was what you could physically see as far as public records go. Now, if you look at DJI spent over $1 million lobbying. Now, when I think about the two companies, obviously DJI is battling an issue where they are on entity lists. So they're trying to buy their way at any cost to try to get somebody to listen to them or take a side. Skydio doesn't have to spend that type of money because Skydio has the government contracts. In every single tweet that I have read, it's basically all about their money. And again, this guy, Big Santry, drones are now used. Skydio drones are now used in every branch of U.S. Department of Defense by over half of all U.S. state departments of transportation, by over 200 public safety agencies in 47 states, and across more than 60 energy utilities. So when you're twisting somebody's hand, they will use what you give them. I'm just going to put it out there like this. The state of Florida in January passed the Blue UAS law. It's a mandate basically stating that any entity here in the state of Florida, whether it be law enforcement or first responder, has to use an approved UAS built in the United States. And when you look at the options that are available for these entities to use, the pickings are very, very slim. I will say that out of all the American drone manufacturers, Skydio is at the top of that list as far as capability. There aren't very many options out there. And I would say, yeah, they're going to use you when that's all you give them the option to use, which that's like saying, hey, you can date the ugliest bitch in the room because she's the only girl available in this room, but you can date her, but she's ugly, but you can date her. She'll go out with you because she knows she's the only girl in this room, and but she looks like a donkey or something. I don't know. I'm trying to put it in comparison for somebody to understand. You're forcing somebody to use your product. When you're looking at a pile of shit and there's like this little kernel at the top that sticks out of the shit, of course you're going to choose the kernel because it's the cleanest piece on the whole thing, but it's still shit at the end of the day. The reality is the vast majority of law enforcement that I work with have nothing but bad things to say about the Skydio product because it is incredibly limiting. It's limiting. It truly is. It's like a handicap when you go from something that you can fly almost at any time of day, night, wherever, and it's rescuing and helping people save lives. You tie their hands by saying, here, use this, which is very limited. The Skydio drones, the X2 specifically, is a shit show. Talk to anybody that's really gotten a chance to use it, and they're not going to give you anything positive about it. They're not going to say, oh yeah, I would choose the X2 over, let's say, a Mavic Enterprise. They're not going to do that. They're going to tell you they would choose the Mavic Enterprise over the Skydio X2 every single time. Oh, not to mention that you don't buy Skydio's hardware when it comes to the X2. You have to lease that. The leases start at $14,000. So now you're tapping in to departments' grant money. You're tapping into their budgets overall, and you're severely limiting how many of those drones they can actually acquire in a year's time. And oh, by the way, you have a software that you have to pay for monthly, which is bullshit. You never actually own the hardware. And in their mind, they think, well, if you don't own the hardware, you just trade it in when something else comes out. Well, I'm still waiting to see what else is going to come out from Skydio. Now, I could be wrong. They could be brewing something amazing in their lab and say, hey, this year we're going to drop something amazing. But they haven't done that since really 2019. 2019. That's how long it's been. So
and that's
it's
pretty
just
much
crazy.
the epitome on hypocrisy too, because in 2019, they technically were left out because of the COVID hit and then the chip shortage, and then they couldn't do their stuff. So they pretty much, they were acting like a scorned wife, and now I'm gonna go with American chipsets,
Right.
and I'm gonna raise money for that, and I'm gonna say it that way. The problem with that is that you want to take it away from the consumer while producing for the government only. You're not even innovating yourself. You're not even bringing out anything for the consumer himself, except for that X2. And like me and you, we both worked with the software. We both worked
Right.
with the footage, and it's not that great. You know what I mean? Like it's really. And then I had a shoot with somebody who had a Skydio 2, and then they came up with that new feature where you could plan the course and set it up to where you wanted the drone to go. And it was all fine and dandy until there was a spot where you had to go underneath one arch. The drone crashed twice inside that arch.
Yeah.
Like, even though we set the route to go around, and it both times clipped the top of the arch, even though we wanted to go right through the middle. And I told him to say, you know what, I'm going to bring my Autel, I'm going to fly it myself. And I could perfectly fly it the way that we needed it, and his Skydio just wasn't able to follow up with that flight. Like, how many times? And it crashed twice, you know what I mean? Like I said, and then the footage
the keyframe is not that good.
Nothing that you will be able to use to sell to a client that looks amazing. I mean, if it's a line, it's somebody that does it for the first time. Yeah, okay, they're going to accept your footage from that. But if it's somebody who constantly gets good quality from somebody with a Mavic 3 or with an Autel Evo 2 Pro, you're going to see that they're going to look at you like, okay, the footage is not the greatest on that one. It's kind of grainy, even though it's advertised as 4K. You know what I mean? It's just not there. And it's, I don't know. I just think it's hypocrisy that you first got scorned, but based on that, you couldn't get the chips, and then now you want to advertise, I'm going with American production chips, and I'm going to do all this. But what have you brought out since?
And I'm not against the idea of producing something in America. I think the reality is, most people believe because something is made in America, all of a sudden we're bringing jobs. We're bringing a massive amount of jobs and production and enterprise to the United States. The reality is they're bringing that to, California, which is very expensive to do anything in.
I mean, it's good to have American built. The problem is if you don't supply something that is worth that amount of money that you're going to have to spend in order to acquire it, then why should I go with it? It's the same like, I'd rather go shop at Walmart than go somewhere that is a 5-star shop where I can get the same thing just for 3 times the price. You know what I mean?
What you said?
The cost of the product is going to double or quadruple.
Well, and I'll give them this. I will say this. For what the product is, they have done a good job of, at least the Skydio 2, they've done a good job of keeping the cost, what I would say is relatively low. But when you look at their website, there's like this nickel and dime effect, right? Because what they have done, they've created this sort of a la carte process, right? So if you go to Skydio's website and you want to buy a drone, so if you go to shop, and that's what I'm doing right now. So the starter kit, the Skydio 2 Plus starter kit that does not come with a remote, it's just a drone and the battery and the charger, is $1,099. If you want the Skydio 2 Plus sports kit, which comes with 3 batteries, the beacon, and the drone, that's $1,549. If you want the Skydio 2 Plus cinema kit that comes with the RC, 3 batteries, the drone, that's $1,949. And that also comes with a hard case. And then if you want the Pro kit is $2,169. So the pricing it's deceptive because of what you're getting. They have one drone this drone has been out, like, I'm going to tell you right now, this drone has been out. This is, whether it's the 2 Plus or the Skydio 2, that's been out since 2019. The 2 Plus, those rabbit ears they installed do absolutely shit. They did not improve the range. I felt like the obstacle avoidance, to be completely honest, was better on the Skydio 2 than it was on the 2 Plus. I never flip those ears up because they just don't do anything really relative to the range. And even if you are flying at a distance, again, I think Lon said it. You're making suggestions on what you want the drone to do. You're not commanding the drone. You're making suggestions. Now, they're claiming that they're looking to make the industry a smarter and safer space. But the problem is autonomy just isn't quite there yet. You're pushing something that is still, I would say, at least 5 years from perfection. Maybe a little bit more. 5 years from perfection.
Still in baby shoes. I mean, all they have proven was that it can follow a sky
right.
I mean, a skier through the canyon.
But how does that make anything? It doesn't make anything safer. Yeah, okay, so you're automating building inspections. But the reality is, if I ask somebody who does mapping, like if I ask Jared, I say, Jared, you do a lot of mapping and a lot of 3D mapping. would you use a Skydio to do any sort of 3D mapping? He would say, hell no, because it's going to take him twice as long to do a job because one, the battery life, and two, the accuracy. There's no RTK. So you don't have any real way to validate a lot of that data, which a lot of these guys doing anything geospatial require RTK. They do not have RTK yet. So you just can't replace what we already have right now or the options that we have available. So going back to the fact of what they're saying and the fear mongering, the push of trying to get people on board with this idea that, Chinese drones are bad. If Chinese drones go away or DJI goes away or Autel goes away, there are a lot of people in the industry, the drone industry, that don't have a job if you say, hey, you can't use that, or we're not going to allow any more imports of parts, or you're not going to be able to do any work because this is not an American-made product. What Skydio is proposing is what I call consumer racism. Mm-hmm. You are so hell-bent against a particular brand and the country of origin that you're creating this fear around it, which is essentially consumer racism. Let's just call it what it is. Yeah. I mean, we got to start calling things for what they are. They are preaching consumer racism is what they are doing with their tweets and the little shit. Instead, what you need to do, and I hope they see this stream. I hope they see this stream and they really think about this. What you need to do is stop tweeting about your fucking round E money, because that doesn't matter to the people that use your product. They just want to know what you're doing for them, They don't care how much money you have raised. We don't give a fuck. We care if our products work well. We care about what developments you are creating for future products that are going to be able to make jobs easier, make things better. We want you to stop trying to worry about what these other brands are doing. Do you notice, do you ever notice how like DJI or Autel or a lot of brands, they don't really worry about what the other person's doing. They don't take direct swings at another brand. I have never seen DJI in probably any of the advertising take a swing at Skydio. I've never seen them like publicly acknowledge or even take a swing at Skydio. I've never seen that. Why? Because they don't have to. They know that their product can do more and can compete at the same level, if not better. So they don't have to. My advice for Skydio is to, if you want to be a lion, act like a lion. Stop worrying about what these other companies are doing. Just make a better product, and then we don't have to have these awkward confrontations. Like when we go to these conventions, we go to commercial UAV. Y'all aren't like this loved brand that people are just exaggerating to go greet. They're not. Right now, I'll tell you what American brand I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Brink. I want to see Brink succeed because they're a prime example of a brand that doesn't give a shit what other people are doing. They're just staying in their lane, sort of crafting and perfecting a product that will help save lives. They don't give a shit what anybody else is doing. They're just staying in their lane, creating a product that is going to work for their customers. They're not talking or bragging about all the money that they're raising as far as capital. You never see them tweet or talk about any of that shit. It doesn't make you any more valuable talking about how much money you've raised. It doesn't make you any more valuable. It doesn't make you any more desirable to anybody that's thinking about purchasing a drone or looking for an autonomous solution. That doesn't make you any more valuable. So I really hope that they think about that. Right. Brian Gonzalez says it best. Market leader 101 is ignore others. That is exactly the truth. If you're at the top of your game, you disregard everything else. You disregard everybody else. You just have tunnel vision on your goal and your purpose. And they want to make the industry a safer place. Do that. But we don't need any of the fluff. I'm sorry. It's so ridiculous that a CEO is tweeting out these things. Like go to Twitter. I encourage you. I'm not making any of this up. Read their tweets. Read the tweets from their team and what they talk about. You won't find anybody from any other manufacturer doing the same. You won't. They don't have to. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying.
They don't have to because their programs or their products itself also have sufficient productivity based on what the consumer wants or what is there that they need.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why they don't do it. You know what I mean? Skydio seems to be having the issue that they can't bring on anything for the consumer himself for recreational flyers or whatever in that price range.
It seems like they're not interested in hobbyists. They're not interested in hobbyists. They're not interested in recreation.
Not at all.
When I did a poll a couple of days ago. I asked how many would buy a Skydio just because it's made in America? Is that enough for you, or is there? I spelled there wrong. Or is there other factors you consider when purchasing a drone? 603 votes. 603 votes. 90% said they would just buy whatever performs best. 90% out of 600. That means 500 people out of 600 said, yeah, they would buy Skydio just because it was made in America. But 500 people voted that they just want what performs best. So what does that tell you? Country of origin, they don't care. People don't care, where it's made. They just want to know that what they spend their hard-earned dollars for is going to work. Now, I know there's the argument people will say, well, that's the problem with America. That's why shit gets outsourced to China and blah, blah, blah. No, that's not why. That's not why. It's products. It's whatever works best for the money that you are spending is what people care about the most. I mean, it's just very, I don't know. It's crazy. So that's my thing on Skydio. But I felt like it was hard to articulate this into a video because there's a lot to say. There's a lot to say. And these tweets, I mean, like the more I started researching it, I was a big fan of them too. Like I was huge. But the more I start reading these tweets from them, it just becomes more and more disappointing. It's more and more disappointing. Like I'm not going to blindly be patriotic just because like you feel like that's the right thing to do. That's not the right thing to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe I'm in the category of my own, I guess.
Well, I think there definitely is clear what they're doing. They're hurting the space, right? The drone space overall.
Tyler Gibson asks, is the Skydio dock not innovative? No, of course it's innovative, but there's multitudes of docks at this point. There's multitudes. Autel has a dock. DJI has a dock. Yes, the Skydio dock is innovative, but again, we're talking about what will you do with that dock? It's still very limited. The Skydio performs in a limited capacity. So you spend that money on a dock, it still performs in a limited capacity. They talk about how much the software is there, but I just don't see it, I guess. Maybe I've turned a blind eye to what their capabilities are, but I'm not seeing it in the workforce. And when I talk to people that are actually in the trenches, doing work with UAS, making a profitable living doing this, they would not purchase the drone. So if you have an innovative dock and you have a garbage drone, you basically created a condom.
Pretty much.
I digress.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
the other part is too is like almost like Dodge is coming around saying, "Oh, buy American muscle and let's legislate out Toyota and Hyundai and whoever else." You know what I mean? It's like, why? Like people want just the cheapest thing for the best thing that they can get.
Right.
Because times are tough as it is already, and nobody's going to spend any of that amount of money if the thing doesn't even work the way that you need it to.
What ecosystem, Tyler? What fucking ecosystem has Skydio built? They have a beacon. They don't have an ecosystem. They sell you software. They want you to get looped into their software fuckhole is what they want. Like what ecosystem? I'm very curious as what ecosystem they have. But I guess that makes sense because if you want to work from like 9 to 5, Skydio is fantastic for you. If you want to work 9 to 5, or if you just want to rescue somebody or search for somebody from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock at night, that's perfectly fine. Or if you want to play fuck with an X2 and hope that it does what it's supposed to do with its Galaxy Note 9 or whatever the freak it is as its controller, then sure. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, play, well, what if? Maybe it will work, maybe it won't work. I mean, there's too many what ifs with that product. That's my gripe with them. I get it. There's going to be some Skydio fanboys that are just going to like be ride or die. I get it. Totally get it. It's not for me. It's not for the vast majority of pilots I've talked to, and it's obviously not for 90% of the people. But I'm sure there's that 10% that are going to be like, yep, they will deep throat Skydio like all the way to the bank. Sure, go for it. Not me. Not me.
Yeah, technically seen, what does Skydio really have on the market though? Like, ecosystem-wise, DJI just announced that the Inspire 3 is going to come out. The turtleneck, what is it, the ZX9, whatever, camera from the Ronin 4D will be compatible with that Inspire 3. That is an ecosystem. That is something where you can switch between certain devices for certain usage. That's an ecosystem. I don't see that at all at Skydio.
I don't see enough of product for it to warrant an ecosystem. I mean, if you're talking about software, then maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe with software, but not hardware, not intermingling, and there's just not enough of that. There's not enough of that to say that equals a ecosystem.
And based on the hobby kind use, or the people who spend their tax returns on a new drone and stuff, I do not think that Skydio will ever bring any of that stuff out, because most of their Facebook posts and stuff also stated that the $230 million raised will be going into development for autonomous services for public safety and government use. So I don't think any of that stuff will end up with the regular Joe Blow. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think that they see anything in the market in that as well either.
Yeah.
Because they're contracted through the government. So my question on that one is kind of based on, okay, since they got the $230 million, maybe they also were told to help them try to legislate out the competition, because it's simply, they don't want DJI drones here. They don't want this. They always talk about the black market. They're always talking about cutting them out and logging them out, and then they come up with this whole spy stuff while cell phones are around, while everybody takes selfies in front of government buildings and all that stuff.
Yeah,
while satellites are orbiting the Earth and everybody can watch Google Maps. You know what I mean? It's
I just don't think it's like that big of a deal. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that it's as big of a deal as they make it seem. You know, I just don't. I think that it's becoming sensationalized. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. I think they're making it sensationalized.
They're taking advantage of
Yeah.
all the exposure that's out there in the media, right? They're
Right.
taking advantage of the specific time that we're in and all the recent events to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
With the spy balloon.
yeah, well that was absolutely a shit show. You know, but I mean,
$20 million plane to shoot down a 200,000 balloon.
Well, and, you know, they had ample opportunity to take that down before it got to that point, but I digress. All right, so we've talked about Skydio. Let's switch gears. We'll talk about Autel, because there's been some shakeups. Been some shakeups, man, at Autel again.
Mm-hmm.
Yet again, here we go. Autel is implodes on themselves. So Ken Booth has announced that the 15th of March will be his last day with Autel. This is Ken Booth's second tenure with Autel. If you don't know, Ken Booth came over from DJI. He helped lead the customer service division over there, and he's been able to take on the customer service side at Autel, sort of bring back some of those good feelings from back in the days of Autel Old, where they had a full team of people in Seattle, or I should say Bothell, manning the phones and, you know, basically trying to help capture some of that business, giving it more of a personalize the feel. But recently, obviously there's been some internal grumblings and some broken promises on Autel's part. Specifically, there was supposed to be compatibility with the new Autel RC. So the Autel SC, the Smart Controller SC, was supposed to work with the Nano and the Lite series, and we have yet to see any compatibility. Not to mention, there was supposed to be an update that would allow there to be 10-bit on the Autel version 3. So the Evo V3, I don't know if anybody knew this, but the Evo V3 does not have 10-bit, which is ironic because it's the Evo 3 Pro, new internals, and now all of a sudden does not filming 10-bit. Autel didn't say anything, but as obviously a lot of us start flying these things, we start testing them, and we find out like, wait a second, where's the 10-bit? You start asking questions, and they say it's going to be in an update. It's going to be in an update. Well, these updates never came. Problems were arising, and problems were not being solved. And, unfortunately, when you are the head of customer service, you're the head of support, you are just beaten down by these questions daily. And there's probably nobody that I've seen work harder, whether it be in the Facebook groups or taking calls or emails than Ken. Like it's truly a thankless job. And when your parent company does not want to help, when the parent company does not want to step in and say, hey, let's get this right. Let us give you the tools you need to support the customers that are having issues, there's a problem. And eventually it becomes demoralizing, and you don't want to do it anymore because you can't fix the problems that they're creating, right? Like that's your whole job. You're basically sweeping shit under the rug to buy yourself another day for the same problems that weren't getting fixed the day prior. So that's demoralizing. So he's done it twice. He's come back. He's tried to help, but the 15th will be his last day there, according to the Facebook post. I wish him the best. He was awesome, dude. Always help people, and he always answered calls, text, whatever to try to get a situation resolved. But there's only so much that one person can do, right? There's only so much that one person can do. So it just sucks. It sucks to see it happen, but there's been, like I said, broken promises on Autel's part.
A lot of them.
Yeah,
and as much as I used to defend Autel's policy based on that they just brought out the V3 and that everything was be like enterprise, because they brought that out, because there are still a lot of V2 bundles on the market for people to purchase.
Right.
And people ask me, do you suggest to pick it up? And I tell them, yeah, because the V3 just was released. So they're going to make a long more time. They're going to make those batteries, because there's a lot of scorned Autel X-Star pilots out there where the batteries were discontinued, and the drone was great for them, and they cried about it a lot. Yeah, I mean, it was 4 years in on the market that
right.
the drone was discontinued based on that, and the Autel Evo 2 Pro had features that the X-Star couldn't reach, so they just discontinued that. But the fear is right now with leaving people like Ken Boot, who was a cornerstone in my eyes, seeing him in the groups and stuff, the way he communicated with people, the way he answered to people. I don't even know how many thousands of mails and posters that he answered during the time that I watched him, is just simply throwing in the towel, together with somebody else who's apparently leaving, a female that posted on his post as well, who's also leaving. And they both were cornerstones based on customer relationships with Autel. It's sad to see that, but I think they will never be able to replace him with anybody that comes close to that. And Autel has messed up prior to that already by messing up from V1 to V2,
right?
Where people then all of a sudden there was only a limited amount for the smart controller. Then the second smart controller that did come out was all weird, and I don't know, man. They kind of like shooting themselves in the foot when they have good products launched, and then they're claiming like, oh yeah, we had to pull the people from customer service to restock all this stuff and redevelop and get all the orders out there.
And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any personnel, It doesn't make any sense, like a lot of the issues that they've had, because I mean, they've had time to hire people, right? They've had time to hire people. They've
I mean,
had
you look
time.
at what type of people are leaving. You had
Yeah.
also Warner's leave, who was also a very good person, and he wanted to make changes, and then you could tell that upstairs did not like those changes. Ken Booth, on the other hand, was put in charge for customer relations, and apparently when he tried to help, which was rightful, the customer's right to apparently do so, or to get help, and they just shut him down. And that were the broken promises, and I guess that was just the tip of the iceberg, because Ken wanted to leave prior to that at some point, but I guess he was promised that they're going to do better. Apparently they didn't, which is sad to see. But
Yeah, I mean, it's always upsetting when things like that occur. I will say, it's Autel seems to be a creature of habit. They keep creating the same issue over and over. When I was at CES, the funniest thing that I saw was Autel was winning awards for the best drone, right? Like best drone of CES. But when you looked around CES, they were the only drone company there. So no shit, you're going to be like the best drone, right? And then the funny thing was, I don't even
being the only girlfriend, right?
Right. And I'm like, I did not even see another drone manufacturer, and I didn't even remember seeing the Evo Max fly. I think they flew it in the little cage for a moment, but just recently I was in Texas and they had the Evo Max 4T out there and it wouldn't fly. They said it was a prototype and it was the only prototype in the US, blah, 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 blah. And they couldn't fly it. So I was like, okay, that's interesting.
wait,
So,
wasn't your favorite there too, the V Copter, or was that the year before?
no, V-Copter was not there, but yeah, V-Copter was
I mean,
not there.
it got released last year. That's what it was. After like
It
3
was
years.
well, I mean, yeah, they finally started shipping that, eventually. But it's one of those weird things. Like they announce a product. So CES was January, February. We're in March right now, so it's been 2 months. April's coming up. Will we see it actually in not consumers, but will we see it in public safety's hands in April? I don't know. I don't know if we will. I don't think they're there yet. I feel like they're still a little bit a ways out on that. It would be great to see it in April, but it's like you announce it in January and then you're like 3 months before you actually get it into consumer hands. No other manufacturer, no other drone manufacturer really does that like that, where it's announced, way, way in advance and then you don't see the product. This is every single Autel release. It is announce the drone, and it's almost 90 days to even substantially longer before it actually hits a customer's hands, which is so insane. Like, I mean, I guess, hey, do whatever you want. It's your company. But the problem is you show your cards and then it's like, okay, now somebody else will come in and say, okay, I think I could do that better. And then they'll do it better. And they'll basically create the, a product that is, equally on par to what the 4T can do. And let's face it, the 4T is basically competing with the Mavic 3T. I say it's competing with the Mavic 3T because it's not on the level of the M30T because size-wise and battery life, etc. I mean, it's just not. So I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I feel like we would have had information. Like I could tell you from on my end, being with the distributor, having access to information, we haven't heard anything. And, March, it's not a short month. We're only in the beginning of March. But I feel like we would have gotten requests to pay a PO or something this to confirm delivery of drones. Nothing. Absolutely quiet. So that is unfortunate that here we are again. History keeps repeating itself.
How did the M30, how did the M30 hold up against a Dragonfish?
They're two different products. I mean, the Dragonfish is a whole another animal because it's VTOL, right? Like, so you can't compete with the flight time on a VTOL like that. I mean, the Dragonfish can fly for almost an hour and 30 minutes. And of course, they have the Dragonfish Pro and then the smaller Dragonfish, which are two very, interesting products with unique payloads. And just the capability of the Dragonfish is pretty much, there's nothing right now from any major manufacturer like that. I mean, they're similar. Like you have Wingstra that has something similar, but it doesn't have a payload like what's on the Dragonfish. The Dragonfish takes off like a drone, but flies a lot like a plane. And obviously DJI doesn't have anything that can compete in that realm or capability. So different drones, obviously, but neat nonetheless. So let's go ahead and take a look at the chat here. I don't know if we got any questions in here. I don't even know. I didn't even look.
There's been a few, but I think just going back to the overall initial comments of Ken leaving, I think Ken was a brand and a staple to Autel. He was the face of that company.
Yeah, he was.
Having I consider, I don't know what the hierarchy structure is in Autel because I don't follow them. I've never been a fan of Autel personally.
Yeah.
But just thinking about I see Ken as a senior leader within your organization. He leaves yet again the second time, right? Your product line is a mess. I think this is the time for Autel to really take a pause, reassess, reorganize, restructure, not only from a hierarchy perspective, from a marketing perspective as well, and also from a product line perspective, and come back strong because they're looking very sloppy and messy right now.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. So I was just looking here. The Wingstra can actually run a Sony RX1R2 or a 6100, which is actually pretty cool. So mostly designed for mapping, though, not for what many would want it for. So mostly surveying, mapping. Interesting product. Probably one of the cooler products, though, just how it takes off. Definitely interesting.
Yeah, the Live Deck 2, Tyler Phillips just said we were told the Live Deck 2 will work with the Max 4T. That is still on the market as they said it. They haven't changed that yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that when those actually finally do roll out. I'm just sort of shocked that they haven't put out a better ETA, a better update as to when that product's going to be released. I mean, I don't know. You would have thought. That's why I laugh when there's a new product at being announced at CES, because a lot of times it's like, yeah, right, I'll believe it when I see it. Or, I mean, the one CES we were able to fly. We were actually able to fly the Evos. And then obviously COVID happened, and then we weren't. That was understandable, but there's not anything understandable. CSM N3, no Skydio, ? What are you talking about? If you're talking about the conversation, we already had that conversation at the very beginning of this live stream. We went all through that. I would say a large chunk of this live stream was talking about Skydio. If you're on time, you're late. I don't know. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know.
I think so. I think he just joined late.
Yeah, go back to the very beginning of the stream, maybe 5-6 minutes into the stream. That's where the Skydio. I'll probably have to bookmark. I'll have to chapter it. I'll chapter it.
Yeah.
Bobcat FPV says he finally made a stream. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, just go back to the beginning. That's when I rip a new asshole out of Sky. No other way to put it. But I mean, are those valid arguments though? Is that a valid argument we had with Skydio? I mean,
100%.
I mean, I think it's 100%. Valid. I think anybody here, if they look closely, they would tend to probably. I think they would agree that sort of the demeanor from senior staff at Skydio is they should reel that back. I get it. It's cool to raise money like that. It's awesome. But, you're still a consumer-facing company as well. And if that's all you're interested in, that's all you'll ever be interested in. It should be. I don't know. I like companies that are always product focused. You know, it's like Apple. Apple's a prime example. Here's prime example. Apple. They do an earnings call, right? They do an earnings call with their shareholders, whatever. That's the only time you ever hear Tim Cook talk about their earnings and you know, any downswings they have. That's it. It's not like a reoccurring conversation. It's that, and then it's quiet. It's quiet. And you never hear about Apple like talking about any of their competition. There is no competition to them.
Yeah,
like they know that.
Close to Apple.
Right? Same, you know. So you never hear anybody talk about that. So it's just like, come on. Jonathan Jackson says it was a soft rip, but still a rip. I don't know.
I think it was a politically correct.
It was a politically correct rip. I would think.
Rip. Yes,
guys. If I'm not here in the morning, then you know they got me. So somebody called me in the morning just to check on me. Just call me, check on me. Make sure I get home okay.
They're sniffing data packets as we speak.
Yeah, they're trying to track it down. Original Dobus says, since Autel makes other products, auto, etc., do you believe they are committed to drones? It's a good question.
Yeah,
I think that they run the drone side so separate from the automotive side that if they lose money on the drone side, they're not upset. I think that if I had to guess, I think the automotive side of Autel was so successful because I was in the automotive world and Autel was the shit. Like they were the end all be all when it came to scanners, tools, hardware. They were a big deal. I think they've made so much money globally in the automotive world that imagine sitting at a blackjack table and you say, this is my initial buy-in. I bought in for $1,000. I've made now $5,000, but I have $5,500. And I'm now willing to lose this $500 extra. That's Autel Robotics. I'm willing to lose this $500 extra. They took a little bit of the money, shaved it off the top, and said, this is what I'm willing to risk on a robotics division. That's the best analogy I can make for Autel Robotics. That is the absolute best analogy.
The question is, what did they do with all the money when they had the heavy sales with the Light Plus series?
I don't know, man. What did they do with that? I mean,
I have no idea, man.
I know they said for a while that they weren't there was no subsidies. They weren't able to compete. I don't know. There was a whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I buy that either. I don't know.
I was disappointed in the Light Plus, kind of, a little bit. So
yeah,
I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah, see, it says you got to buy a new drone every time they innovate. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, you know, there's two ways to look at it, especially like when it comes to Skydio. Is that okay? It's great that they keep updating the firmware and you know whatever, and you don't have to buy a new drone. But the same token is you bought a drone that is very limited and can't do very many things, so it's still very much limited by its functionality. The fact that the obstacle avoidance relies so heavily on light that you can't utilize that camera at night, and the camera, no, you wouldn't want to use the camera at night anyways, but I digress. When do I move to the new office? Not until April 30th. Unfortunately, it's a long ass ways away. So all the papers are signed. It's just now got to get somebody into this place. I think Autel will pivot more into enterprise. Well, they're already pivoting. They're already demonstrating that that's what they want to do. But that's all brands, I think, with the exception of DJI, because DJI is on the entity list, and they got basically sort of chopped off at the kneecaps here in the United States. The only thing that they can really push is consumer, so they're the only ones innovating for the consumer realm. But that was not. I bet you that. I'm willing to bet if they didn't get hit with the entity list, that they would push more into the enterprise realm here in the States. That's my guess, because they're doing it globally. They're doing it at a global level. I heard they are now going to build their ecosystem now that they have been able to secure V3 chips and don't have the supply chain constraints. We will see. Yeah, I would probably put money. I would bet against Autel any day. I would bet against Autel. That's almost like a surefire way to make money as a betting man.
Just short it.
Yeah, I take the
market.
under. I take the under every time. I don't know. But that's it. That's the stream. It's the first one we really didn't go off the rails, Eddie. I blame 808. I blame 808.
What?
Somebody says you need another convention in Vegas. Actually, we're going to be in Vegas. Both 808 and myself, we're going to be in Las Vegas next month. We're going to be there for NAB.
Very cool.
And so it's, we're just going to, what are we going to do? We're going to gamble? No, we're not going to gamble. We'll gamble a little bit.
I'll send my wife. I'll send my wife to go gamble.
I'll wager. I'll raise you one Evo. No, I don't know. Ken, do you know the Secret Service Department of the Energy and National Park Service are exempt and fly DJI drones? Not all of them, and there's some heavy caveats to their exemptions that they got. There's heavy caveats. It's not the same software that we run as consumers, or even like simple tier enterprise users run. So there are some caveats to those exemptions that they did receive. So, and obviously there's still a fight to keep those units in their hands, obviously. Not sure what just happened. That was the weirdest thing. I have no idea what just happened. They just gone. Did the stream stop? No, the stream's still on. What the freak just happened? I didn't click any buttons. I clicked no buttons. I clicked 0 buttons. Holy fuck. Holy shit.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Shh.
Maybe Eddie touched the wire and we both got kicked.
I don't know, man. That was
A64.
weird. That was weird. I shit you not when I say I didn't touch anything.
Dude,
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It's weird, dude.
Yeah,
Who owns the
my
software we're
firewall is
using?
going off right now.
Yeah, I think they're trying to tap the source here.
Yes.
Shh.
It was the Chinese.
I don't know, man. It's weird.
Well, it was great being here.
It was good to have you. Good to have you back. I'm a little fucking freaked out right now, you know?
Yeah. So I'm playing back the live stream when I got disconnected, and I see that we both got disconnected at the same time.
I'm telling you,
Is it like
Because
a
I thought
1
my
hour
internet
thing?
messed up.
never have I ever been so sort of freaked out over.
You're like left on the island. Imagine they would have came in. Imagine they would have came in.
Oh man, could you imagine?
Like,
that
let's have
been...
a debate. Let's have a debate, Ken Dono. Let's talk this out.
Oh Jesus, that was. I've said too much. Oh.
Oh man.
Good Lord. All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's stream, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves as much as I sort of enjoyed myself. Until next time, keep your drones in your air, your batteries clean. I don't know. Fuck it. Stay original.
Maybe I'll just get out my head and focus on what I know's coming. Yeah. 'Cause I can't fall asleep at night without seeing my dreams. Delusionary reality, I'm somewhere in between. These voices in my head get loud and they keep telling me that I'm a fool for trusting in these wings. But maybe, baby, this what flying feels like. making themselves crazy tonight. Maybe I should call and say, told you I'd be right. Wondering how long it was before you realized the biggest mistake of your life, and now you're paying the price. Oh, is it confidence or confusion? Either way, I feel like I ain't never losing. Your opinion of mine, you know just what I'm choosing. I gotta do this, cause I can't fall asleep at night without seeing my dreams. Delusion and reality, I'm somewhere in between. These voices in my head get loud and they keep telling me
128.
Oh, good show. Good show.
Amazing show.
Ed, you kill it? You kill it?
I think I did. I'm pretty sure I pressed the button this time.
Your camera working okay now?
So this wire's all jacked up.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it anymore. Like just shut it. When you shut it off for the night, you just shut it off. Don't fucking touch it. What are you smoking
you don't
there?
have a wire secure on your stuff, on your camera?
No, because I don't move this camera. Let me just touch it. Let me touch it.
Yeah, see, there it goes. It glitched on him again.
See,
But
I
he's still there.
can't even see him. I only
No,
see
because that's because he touched the camera. I told him not to fucking touch it. Eddie, you there, bro?
It doesn't come back this time now.
Oh shit, Eddie.
Might go into retirement.
I think that camera cable's got to go, Edward.
Yeah, you know what it is? Oh, there you go. I'm back. I dropped the camera, but I saved it with the cable.
Good. Got a new cable. Amazon that shit next day. Bro, have you ever had these, dude?
No, but I see you chopping away on those things.
They're fucking amazing.
Green apple. It was almost like black licorice, just green apple.
Bro, I bought every bag at the dollar store, dude. They had these ones. And I ate a whole bag of these. I'm gonna be shitting watermelon wallabies, dude, all night, bro. Almost ate a whole bag, dude, since I stopped drinking.
It's gonna come out in strings, twisted.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, all right. Well, I guess I got to start packing. I got to drive over to Orlando in the morning.
Orlando.
Oh, you're gonna do that? You going out there?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that shoot tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But I got so much shit to finish up though.
So what, Eddie? Are you coming to the NAB as well?
No, man. I'm testing out. I'm busy. I have so much things to test out. This is the remote for the Inspire 3, so I'm still like, figuring out connectivity. So, I have the Inspire Mini over here. I don't know if you saw in the last live stream. I got to do a video on that. A lot of things are happening, and I definitely need to. I need to work on. I need to work on making my videos shorter again. My last upload was 30 minutes.
Bro, you gotta stop. You
30 minutes.
You upload 30-minute videos, bro. I can't watch you, bro. I can't watch you, bro. Start reminding me. It's like, I had to check the other day. The other day you uploaded a video. It's 30 minutes. I thought I was on Idaho Quadcopter's channel. I'm looking. I'm like, I almost texted you. Almost called you. I say, hey, Marcus.
But he's my mentor.
I'm telling you, man. I almost had to call you.
He's my mentor.
Called you Marcus the other day.
He's having impact over my YouTube career.
Oh shit. Oh,
that was a good stream, though.
Yeah, good stream. Good stream.
Informative.
Ecamm just notified me that I never ended the stream. By the way, it says I don't have the rights. Ecamm says you do not have the rights to end the stream. I didn't read it at the bottom.
Wow.
It says you do not have the permissions. You do not have the rights.
What do you mean you don't have the permissions, Ed?
So you didn't make me an admin.
Fuck. Ah, you're fired, Eddie.
Great, Eddie. You're fired.
Fucking Eddie.